while doing this project in the classroom, they get really motivated and they like to use all their energy to translate and use dictionary and everything. And I thought, wow, this is marvelous. And this is a power of Storypal.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first Storypal teacher interview. I had this idea to start talking with some of the different teachers and professionals that use Storypal with their students to talk about global citizenship and international exchange. So I thought this might be a great opportunity for us to discuss what Storypal brings to the classroom, how teachers are using Storypal creatively in their classrooms, and all kinds of great information about people who have actually been using the service. So today I'm joined by Minji Kim, who is actually the very first teacher to start using Storypal here in Korea. She used Storypal in her middle school classroom back in 2017, but she is now a teacher at Busan International High School. She still uses Storypal to this day. And Ms. Kim, I'm really happy to have you here, and I'm excited to talk about your experience with Storypal. How's everything going today?
I'm good. Happy to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to finally be having this conversation. We've been talking about doing this for a while, but now it's real. So I guess we can just jump right into the questions I have for you. My very first question for you is, why did you choose to use Storypal in your classroom back when it was a new idea?
So after doing my master's degree in London, and I had this idea of I want to make students use more authentic language. So not the language that is taught only in textbook. So I felt this necessity of teaching more authentic languages. And I felt the textbook were not that much enough. But so I had this idea. And before I met Storypal, I was a member of Korea English Teachers Group, which is called KETG. And we had this sister teachers group in Japan. And we had every year we met in a summer camp, kind of teachers camp, and we exchanged students paper letter. So Japanese teacher wrote this parcel of paper letter to us, and I received this paper, and I made students to write back to them. So I had this paper version of penpal at that day around 2014, 15, and around 2016, I met Hihwa in the teachers conference in Busan. And I had this idea, maybe I can do this online. So I brought this idea into my classroom, and I directly did this in my English classroom. And I guess directly it worked right away. So there were a bunch of students who are not very interested in English at that time. They were like, I worked at middle school at that time, but I felt those low motivated students also participated really well. They enjoyed this penpal writing project very much with sparkling eyes. And I thought, yeah, this might be a good idea.
So pen pals are not a new idea in any way, but Storypal is definitely a new take on the idea of pen pals. It maintains the safety of a pen pal relationship, but it utilizes all this new technology we have. What was your administration's reaction to you adopting this new idea and being one of the first people to test it out?
So as a school teacher, so at first, when I worked at a middle school, it was a little bit difficult for me to get fund for this Storypal project. It was very new idea, and I couldn't get quite big support from other English teachers, my colleague in English department. So I didn't really do it myself. by myself.
Yeah.
So thanks to Hihua, I could run this idea, this project without paying big money. It was very fortunate at that time. So I started this project almost by myself. But later I started to work in this school, Busan International High School. And since we we've we invest a lot to for students to exchange a lot. So we have many sister schools around the world. So I can bring this idea to more officially. So now I'm doing this project as an official sister school exchange program. So I get more fun and more support from other colleagues.
So
And
after you proved the concept to them, your colleagues
yes,
and the administration was much more supportive of this kind of being a like pioneer in a new idea.
yes. So
That's great to hear.
also from the principals and head teachers as well. Mhm.
Great. So, okay, we've talked about how you got signed up for Storypal, why you're using Storypal, but I think a lot of teachers who might be interested in using Storypal in their classrooms would like to hear from someone who has been using it already, how exactly they can use Storypal in the classroom. Of course, students can use Storypal on their own time and send messages back and forth, but how have you turned this into a classroom activity that, an instructor can use so that an instructor can use Storypal like a classroom material.
All right. So at the very first year when I worked at middle school, I used this Storypal project as a culture exchange. So students talk about our culture, like K-pop, K-drama, K-food, and um, they share these ideas about their culture. So it also motivates students a lot, which were younger students. So they are mostly early teenagers. But now I work in this Busan International High School, and students are very motivated and very enthusiastic in learning language and learning different culture. So I mix more higher level of topics such as global citizenship and UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So since last year, I do writing essay project. So it is a 1 year project. So I
Mm.
brought this idea to students in the first semester about 17 goals, and I make students to pick up one global goal that interests them most. And then I matched students to foreign students on Storypal. And I let them talk about the difference and similarities about this global goal, about politically and or culturally or socially. And then in the second semester, I make students to write a formal paragraph, a formal essay, writing essay about global citizenship and global goal, and the comparison between two countries, Korea and that country.
So you've been able to take the kind of peer-to-peer nature of Storypal and use it as a feedback mechanism for your students when they
Yes.
write things. So what kind of value does that provide to your students, having that kind of, you know, global kind of review system for their writing and their ideas?
So I thought about two big values. First, I guess students are given big motivation to use this actual language. So when I worked at a middle school, as I told you before, there were low motivated students who are not interested in English or anything else in the classroom. They're very slow and not responsive. But while doing this project in the classroom, they get really motivated, and they like to use language as much as possible. So they use all their energy to translate and use dictionary and everything. And I thought, wow, this is marvelous, and this is a power of Storypal. And secondly, um, especially in this school, I felt students can broaden their views on the global issues. So since my students are very motivated and enthusiastic in learning English, but also global issues, but sometimes their views are a little bit limited because they didn't have many chances to go abroad since the coronavirus too. So while communicating with students on Storypal, they can understand much more about different countries, and they learn they can learn how to cooperate on this global issues such as climate change and things like that.
That's wonderful. That's really nice to hear that it not only motivated your students to do something academic, but also like having that personal development added in is just, it's really great to hear. So that really transitions well into the last question that I have for you today, which is how has working on global citizenship affected your students' development, personal development, academic development, all the things that a teacher is responsible for when it comes to their students?
As I told you before, the students I am teaching now is a little bit special. So they are really interested in global issues and English as a second language. And they learn second foreign language like Spanish and Japanese, French, and such things. So doing this penpal project and communicating with foreign students are really a thing that they need for broadening their views and learning more about global issues and having this sense of global citizenship. So they grow up into adults who can go abroad and do things in abroad, and they may be people who can solve the global issues. So I want to raise these, amazing children to become people who can, do a lot of things for global issues, global problems.
We're going to need a lot of those, right? Well, thank you so much for doing your part to ensure that we have a productive and creative future. Thank you for taking some time to talk to me today about Storypal. I know you're super busy being a high school teacher and everything. It's test time now too, isn't it?
Yes.
It's exam season.
This is the final term test. Yeah.
Great. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'll just say thank you again for everything you've done and everything you do for your students. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you again soon.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.